you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Moses Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show family loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as the rest of your family, because we're just nicer people over here. Go to Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com for Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, all those crazy places on the internet. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. We have an amazing young man, Darrell Stern, joining us today. He's going to be talking to us about his insights and how he used going from a voice actor as a child to growing up to becoming a marketing genius, as it were, when it comes to video and things of that nature. But Darrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, man. This is it. This is the big show. This is the big moment that I've been waiting for. So this is it.
Big moment. Darrell Stern, give us your .coms or .marketing. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
Sure. If you want to check out all the work that I've done, you go to Stern.marketing. And if you want to jump right in with me, you go to Stern.marketing.agency.
So give us a 30,000 overview of what you do there. Sure.
I grew up in New Jersey. I was a kid actor. I was the voice of Scooter Computer on ABC's Schoolhouse back in 1983.
Wow.
Which was one of the first series of cartoons to feature this thing called a computer. So I introduced about 12 million American kids to computers. So all of those notifications on your phone are my fault.
It's your fault.
I apologize.
I blame you.
It's my fault. So then fast forward, I quit all that to learn this thing called HTML, started a website design business in 2002. And then fast forward from that, people start making videos and they're not good. And then all of a sudden I start to accidentally coach them in how to act on camera. And then that changes my whole business around We Rocket to the Moon.
Video's everything. What is it? Video killed the radio star? Is that how?
Yeah, most definitely.
We love video. I mean, we were doing video on the podcast before most people were doing podcast videos because it was so hard to fucking crank it and put it across the internet and do everything.
Most definitely.
How do you get involved as a child in the Schoolhouse Rock thing?
My dad was my first talent agent. So they put on the play Pippin, the musical, in the 70s. And my dad was a philosophy professor at Kean University. And he said, my son will play the role of Theo. So he was my first casting agent. So he got me the part in the little musical. And that was it. I was hooked. By the time I was 9, I had a manager and an agent in New York City.
Wow.
So I'm in junior high school. Parents get the call, hey, you've got an audition. And they would pick me up from school a little bit early and zip me into New York City. My dad would drive around the block. We didn't have phones. So he'd just drive around the block and I'd go up and audition. So some of the most memorable ones of that are I met Steven Spielberg. I auditioned for the Goonies.
Oh, wow. That would have been a great thing to get.
Exactly, almost. But it was for the role of Chunk. So it wasn't like the really cool kid. It was like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was always like, I don't think it actually might have been good that I didn't get it. But I
got offered the role of a big ogre guy, but they wouldn't have to put me in makeup. So
of course you did. Perfect match.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm a dead ringer.
Yeah, all kinds of different things. I was in a TV commercial for the Atari 2600 Ms. Pac-Man, the very, very first, video game that you could play at home. Yeah. So ABC had a miniseries out called The Winds of War, and they paid like $1 billion to have this on TV. So I go to the mailbox one day and hand my parents this envelope, and it's a check for $8,500.
Holy!
So my parents said, maybe we want to send you in on more of those, TV gigs and not so much theater stuff.
Yeah. Plus, we don't have to pay for food for this kid. He's got checks coming in.
Yeah, 100%.
So how did you keep from turning into one of those child actors that goes to hell and gets on drugs and, that Home Alone guy, basically?
Well, my parents were not stage parents. I remember being in New York City, sitting in the car and looking at the corner, after I auditioned, and there's a mom there with her little boy, and I don't know what they were talking about, but she took her hand and just, smacked him around the face. And, my parents were actually discouraging me. They said, if you want to stop this, we can stop it at any time you want. Because there's a lot, driving in and out of the city and all this kind of stuff that we did. I just loved it. And I also took vocal classes when I was very young. The teacher would stack encyclopedias on my stomach so I could do push-ups with my diaphragm. And all of it ended up serving me a heck of a lot later when it comes to business. And speaking to people and coming on camera and saying, hey, everything's super fantastic, like you every day, right? It doesn't matter if you're having a bad day. That mic goes on, you know how it is. Yeah. And bam, you're on like another level. So it helps every business person, I believe, to have a little acting background.
The show must go on. Most people don't know I cry when I'm not on the show, and then I'm just really happy for that hour, and then I go back to crying all the time in the fetal position.
We cry when your show's not on.
That's true. That's why we do 3 to 4 shows a day, people. We're doing 4 today. So let's see. So you get into the video business and helping clients. Talk to us about that.
Well, sure. The most amazing thing happened in 2016 when I met a young auto mechanic named Saul. He said, I want to be the number one auto mechanic in the whole state of Colorado. And I had this theory, since Google owns YouTube and they also own, of course, blogging and searching. I'd seen all the bloggers come up and then there's these YouTubers coming up, but nobody was doing both at the same time. Nobody was vlogging and blogging at the same time. Yeah. So what I did was I created them a huge site with literally 60 landing pages, one for each and every type of car that there is. And then I went down to his shop and started relentlessly videoing him fixing the cars. Now, in my generation, we might be about the same age. I'm 53.
I'm 53.
We got into video on the internet. We started making commercials, right? Come on down to Uncle Tom's Barbecue, and we've got all the sauces that you like. And that's not how social marketing really works. It's more about creating relationships and proving it, showing that you could do it. So I just made videos of him relentlessly fixing these cars and explaining how he did it. But I also took the videos, transcribed them, and made them into articles at the same time. So pretty soon he was coming up number 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on Google for fixing just about every type of car. But the first one that we did was the luxury cars. And he started scaling his business literally from 50 grand to 80 grand to 120 grand. And apparently I was right. And since then, it's funny because I don't see anybody else doing this. And it's pretty obvious to me, if you Google something and there's not a video in the search, that is a hole in the market and you can fill it.
Fill the holes in the market. Yeah, it's when we started the Chris Voss Show podcast, we started doing videos, and we'd actually serve them to iTunes. After a while, we gave up because we heard, at least on the podcast video, we do make videos. They go to YouTube, but serving them to iTunes, we quit doing. And people just told us they didn't watch them. They listened to the videos. Even on YouTube, they tell me they listen to the videos. But if you're doing something professional, that's selling people or pitching them something, you gotta have something that can pitch them well.
Yeah, 100%. However, you're correct. I mean, podcasts are radio shows. That's what they were meant to do. They were invented by the guys that made the iPod back in the day before the iPhone. Yeah. So it's kind of funny now how some people are pitching, well, here, buy this huge TV studio for your business and oh my God, spend all this money producing this big TV show now. And I go, I don't think you really need to do that, because I shot all my videos on a phone with a clip-on mic of this mechanic, and we actually scaled his business. So the production quality needs to be there. And I love you, Chris, because every time I turn on LinkedIn, every time I turn on anything, there it is. There's the Chris Voss Show. I mean, you kind of pop up every day. No, but it's good because it's just a constant. Social is also like lead nurturing, right? It's like one day I'm going to come on the show, or one day I might even listen to an episode. You never know. But you're always there. You're always coming up all the time. And that's what we want, until it just becomes, Chris Voss podcast. That's the first thing I think of now when I say the word podcast.
Awesome. Wow. I'm getting a hard on just thinking about that. Well, thank you. I'm excited.
Listen, sir, the late show doesn't start until 10 p.m., but you can have me back.
Yeah, late show. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. People are like, "You're everywhere. Like you just took over my LinkedIn and yada yada yada." And I mean, we do a lot of stuff. We call ourselves the Netflix of podcasting because we do 10 to 15 shows a week, sometimes more, and we give people so much content, and they'll binge the fuck out of it. Like the prior guest on today, he said, "So do you publish this in 5 months?" And I go, "Dude," and he knows, of course, we don't do that. But I was like, "Dude, you can't publish every 5 months. Your audience goes and finds me, and they're like, hey, this guy's got a lot to listen to. Let's do this." And some people press play, and they consume 96% of our shows. So they're just, I think the 4% is they hear me start rapping a show at the end, and they skip to the next. I think that's what.
Yeah, the next step would be to take those podcasts, or at least the very, very best ones that you really like the ones with Darrell Stern in them and people like me, and take those and transcribe them and make them into articles. Now, I'm not talking about a summary. Some people post on the internet the show notes and the little notes. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about transcribe the whole thing and then go through it and then see what words you are constantly being used and start to link them together. And then all of a sudden you'll have people that never heard of a podcast, but they're looking to learn A, B, C, D, or E. And they'll find one of your episodes in there, or maybe a number of them, and you'll have a subscriber for life because your podcast episode actually helped them with a specific question that they wanted to, answer.
One of the things we had we tried doing full transcriptions on the Chris Voss Show website, and along with the show notes, and I can't remember who shit the bed. I don't know if it interfered with the serving of the things, or it shit the bed on the WordPress because the posts were too long.
Because you don't have the digital marketing Jedi working on it, but
that's why.
I mean, since you're dropped. So one of my jokes with because I talk videos and I talk stuff, and people say, "I did that, I tried that, we do videos, we tried that and all that," and I say, well, if you think sex is a pain in the ass, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, all right, one of the two. I'm going to look back into that and do articles because we have the show transcribed.
So here's the thing, Chris. There's an old-fashioned thing called books, okay? And they're made out of pressed pieces of wood. I know some of your younger members might not know those, something called pages, right? Yeah. So in the back of a book would be an index, right? And it says the Chris Voss Show and all the words that you use throughout the podcast and what pages of it they're on. So the whole internet was invented so that we could link all that together so that if your book mentions me, the person doesn't have to go back to the public library and go get out my book. It's all linked together, one to the other, and we can speed through all this information on the internet. That's why it was made. So it's not just you transcribe it and you publish it and that's it. It's that then you go in and you really optimize that content by interlinking different things together that you say. And then you never know. You might not even know. If I told you what's the top, topic that you talk about, you might think it's this, but when you actually do it, you might say, wait a minute, no, I talk about this a whole lot more than that. You know what I mean? And all those kind of things. So
yeah, it might tie into one of the things we like is the big, like when we make our video, you can see that there's my face, your face, there's the Chris Voss Show logo. And then with a book author, we usually have their book in the screen too. We call it the big SEO, Google SEO grab. The SEO will pick up all that stuff on the video, but maybe we should do something like that with an article. I'll have to figure out why a lot of people, when they do I suppose you don't have to publish the whole transcript for an article. You just publish the pieces like Bob said on the show, yada, yada, yada.
Nope, it's the whole thing.
The whole thing, okay.
So the point of it is because where you get stuck is you think, who's going to read that? Or isn't that too long, whatever. The point of it is not that they're going to read it. The point of it is that Google's going to read it.
Yeah.
And index it and all those kind of things. And it's just amazing how many pages, if you did write it out, you know what I mean, of content you have said. Right. How many pages do you think it is? 50,000, 250,000, pages. You've written the longest book on doing business and making podcasts and all that anybody ever has. And then eventually you can take that and string them together and actually publish a book of your best interviews. And now we got another bestseller.
Yeah. I'm going to look into it. I'll have to try and figure out why the WordPress was shitting the bed. For some reason, I like it totally went ape. We did
I can take a look.
Did about 10 of them, and then it kind of shit this bed. You help clients with this. Talk to about some of the services you offer to clients. Who do you work with? Does they need to have a certain amount of spend or a certain amount of size? And, that sort of thing.
Sure. So it's really funny because people also ask, like your niche or your target audience, target, person and all that. And I say, I work with experts. And it's really funny when we talk about influencer, the hottest topic in the world for the past 10 years or so. And I say, well, an influencer is just someone who demonstrates their expertise, meaning that most influencers should be, at least for some extent, an expert at something. So my auto mechanic had 2 PhDs, one for physics and one for engineering. The lady that I helped sell 6,558 of her course on curing cancer, again, has 2 PhDs, and Dr. Jacoby here in Scottsdale, who proved that sugar is not the root of all disease because it causes nerve compression, high-end doctor and all those kind of things. If you're trying to market something, make sure you're good at it first, if that makes any sense. Because sometimes there's all kinds of stuff flashing on the internet now. Oh, buy this kit, make this type of funnel, and you're in business. And I go, okay, great. But then when it comes down to actually doing it or serving the customer or getting feedback from people that you have as clients, if you're not that good and you don't know what you're doing, then it's not, and none of it's going to be worth it. Any of this marketing. So yeah.
It'll do that. So you help them. You help them do their videos. You mentioned you came back from someplace and you were helping a client do 200 videos. Did you say?
Yeah. So I was just at ClickFunnels, which is supposedly the last one they're going to do. Russell Brunson's big thing that he's been doing for 10 years called ClickFunnels Live. There's about 5,000 of us marketers there all in one room. And I tapped this one guy in the shoulder. He's way taller than me. It turns out that he's from Nebraska, and I gave him all my stuff. And the next day he said, that looks good. And then I got to know him now over this weekend because I actually shot 200 videos of him in one weekend and his online course. So I just got back from Orlando this morning from doing that. And what is this all about? So all of your stories are already inside of you. Mm-hmm. All I've got to do is pull them out of you, get them organized, and then work on them with you one after another. And believe it or not, we can shoot 200 of these in 2 days, and all the videos that you need for all your marketing are done for the next 6 months in 2 days, because you already have all the gifts in you. You already have the stories. I just got to pull them out. So this is why my business, I love it, because it's directing again. It's directing actors. Mm-hmm. And that's what I used to do when I had a marionette puppet, Mickey Mouse, when I was 3 years old, and I'd make little shows and bring my parents had to sit through the thing over and over. They were the only audience. I'd make them sit down and watch the marionette puppet show. Mm-hmm. But it's just something that I'm naturally gifted at. So another part of it, Chris, is, did you pretend to be on the radio when you were a kid? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Did you pretend that I say, okay, great. This is why he's really doing this. This is why it's so much in alignment. It's because he saw himself doing it decades before there even was a computer, whatever, a YouTube or a podcast or whatever. And that what makes this show so viral and so well known. You think, oh, it's good marketing, or they think it's all mechanics. Like, this is because they marketed this or they posted this many times or whatever. And I go, no, it's because Chris has been a radio show host since he was 5 years old.
Kind of.
That's why it's so good.
I used to live next to the radio and, I'd try and get him to play my song, and I'd call in, and then I'd sit there going, they're going to play Rush, and they never play Rush. And
exactly. And which created your desire to say, I want to be the guy on the radio because I want a Rush station 24/7.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing interviewing all of us. You should just make your Rush station and be like, and now guess what we're going to play, guys? Yep. Guess what we're going to play? More Rush.
More Rush. So, by the way, guys, it's music time. We'll be lighting up some Rush here, coming out putting on the LP. The Rush LP here in a bit. I can't do a radio bit right now. So what more do we need to know about your service, how you work with others, what clients are good for you, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. I teach marketing as well. I run a marketing academy. Now with this newfangled AI, I figured out a way to take a transcription of the video that you can get it for free and then actually write it out double spaced with the bullet points and the emojis and all that kind of stuff in the format that will go viral. And I can get you up and running in literally an hour and doing your marketing much more efficiently than you are now, that in a way that's actually going to attract people in and get them to talk to you, all the way up to full scale projects like coming to visit with you and filming all these videos and then putting them out and all this kind of stuff, no matter what level you're at. But I say all of us need to, at the base level, learn this stuff by now. And there's a lot of us in my generation, Generation X, probably yours, that just kind of skip this. They skip the internet. And now with inflation high and and we're realizing, we don't have enough money when we were supposed to retire. Now all of us are going, oh crap, I've got to try and do this. And I don't know a thing about it now because I missed it. I skipped it. So I kind of like bridge the generations because I make it so easy, to learn and understand through philosophy, because my father was a philosophy professor. No matter what your level at, I just like to teach this stuff. I love it, teaching. My parents were teachers.
So as we go out, give people your final thoughts, your final pitch out, where can they onboard with you, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. If you take out your phone and you text SEO to 321-421-5213, you'll get a bunch of lessons from me and an invitation to audition to go Stern storming. Now, my parents spelled my name the French way, so it's Darrell. And my last name is Stern, so you can look me up on any of these social media things. My favorite is LinkedIn, so go over there and look me up. And I can't wait to talk to you more and for us to see how many stories in you that you're skipping over that are your viral stories that are a gift to the world.
And I imagine you help a lot of companies maybe tell their stories. I mean, that's a big thing now where companies need to tell their stories.
Sure. Zig Ziglar said you hire people so they can build your company. You don't, right? You don't put people in the company so the company will grow itself. The people do it, right? So I've worked with OsteoStrong, they're the largest biohack franchise in the world. Went to 42 of their centers, filmed 775 video testimonials and stories from the franchise owners. His group, they're a B2B company that does Epicor implementation. So I went and filmed all of their people. All of your people know their stuff and have these stories that can drive the revenue of the entire organization.
Wow. The stories of the business and everything. Yeah, it brings a human element to everything.
Yeah, and it also brings, it lets everybody know that it's not they're extroverts and I'm not. They're in show business, but I don't do that. Everybody has great stories. And the more people that normally wouldn't hear from finally speak up, the more we can get things done, the more businesses can grow, and the more the world will expand.
Yeah, everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Thank you very much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, Chris. Keep rocking it.
Thanks, Darryl. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one on TikTok, and all those crazy places. The internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out, man.